So arguably then the world's top golf coach. I mean, Pete Cowen has worked with multiple major winners. I'm sure hundreds of tour, certainly hundreds of tour players and probably hundreds of tour winners as well. And he's certainly a massive visionary when it comes to the workings of the golf swing. When he looks at a golf swing, he's going to be looking for, among other things, these three patterns. Now, I'm pretty sure that your swing has at least one of these going on, maybe all three. And I'm also pretty sure that if you can get on top of these patterns, the game is going to get easier. Let's have a look. Okay then, so topic one is how we rotate in the golf swing. Because when we look at a golf swing, it seems to have this kind of rotation motion, doesn't it? And I'm sure we've all done drills like this with a club across our shoulders. We rotate back and we rotate through. That drill would be an absolute bugbear of Pete Cowen, because that is very much a rotating around at a horizontal axis, so transverse rotation, kind of like a discus thrower, and you can see how my knees and hips are working there. That is not how we want them working in the swing. So Cowen, through his work with a late kind of legend of biomechanics, Ramsey McMaster, Cowen has kind of built, decades ago really, his idea of the spiral staircase. So that is, as we rotate into backswing, the muscles and fascia like to be stretched and spiraled upwards. So that is, he talks about how the energy wants to go from your lead ankle to trail shin, lead shin to trail knee, lead knee to trail sort of thigh, lead thigh to trail hip. So we get this kind of spiraling motion. And sure enough, in the channel previously, we've spoken to Dr. Mark Bull, who has a similar concept of how the right leg or the trail leg is active in pushing upwards in the backswing, again creating this length in the right side and this spiraling upwards motion, which in the downswing then would be reversed. We would drop down and then push the energy in that direction, which turns us kind of into a spin. So it's up, down and drive, which is very different to rotate and rotate. And of course, with the body moving in that manner, it's really not supporting the idea of the club moving up and then driving down the line. The club ends up kind of moving out in front of us, swinging over the top, and then we kind of adapt and have other patterns to kind of compensate, and it all becomes a bit of a mismatch. Concept two then, another huge bugbear for Pete Cowen would be players trying to use their body first and have the club come through later, which is a tough one, because we know that when we look at the data, the force plate data, when we look at the kinematics, we know that is correct. The throwing sequence that we all do, we move the body first, we move sideways, we rotate, we push up, and then the arm is thrown off us later. We know that happens, and of course Pete Cowen is aware of that as well. But in trying to do that, we can get ourselves into all kinds of trouble. So Cowen's concept of that then is not that we drive the hips in the swing or even push with the trail leg, but in actual fact that we pull the arms down hard, and the lead side is pushed out of the way by the pressure of the arms. So the whole thing is driven by the arms, and the body is responding in advance to that motion of the arms, and that way everything stays in sync. So he would absolutely hate any notion of, certainly shoulders turning early is just dreadful in every regard, but even driving the hips early and leaving the club behind, or pulling through the left side and leaving the club behind, would be a big bugbear for Cowen. And I, for one, in an effort to create more speed, had spent years and, I don't know how many thousands of balls trying to create faster hip speed, more drive and more kind of lag with the club. There was a whole craze around driving the body, leaving the arms up, and then the club would kind of come whipping through later. And yeah, I did create some speed. I also created injury and chaos, and I'm sure I would have been better with that sense of pulling the arms down in front of me and letting my body respond and move in that direction. And finally then, I think this is Pete Cowen's #1 absolute prime goal to avoid this pattern in the swing. He would call it outside rotation, which is slightly difficult to explain, but I shall do my best. So outside rotation would be the notion of, and again, a drill that you and I have done many times to try and release it, and I still do with learning golfers, is this idea that the right side comes around the body like so. So that idea of a tennis topspin, he would absolutely hate. Swinging in this direction, you can see how the energy is swung kind of out and this way. You can see where this trail arm is. So Outside rotation for Cowen is because he sees it as the outside muscles of the arm and shoulder getting involved. Whereas his pattern is, stay with me, he would do drills like this with the arms. We'll forget that for a moment, that gets complicated. But the trail arm, if you put your trail arm out in front of you with a bend, like so, and the thumb, and just rotate it back to vertical, so horizontal to vertical, that is just a motion of the forearm. And if we do that down like so, that would be akin to Cowen's correct idea of rotation. So the forearm is rotating, but that elbow is still bent. You can see the elbow is still bent, and it is not kind of climbing out in this manner. So it would be bent and it would be driving somewhat past us, and my right side of my body kind of moves with me as I do that. That is very different to this motion here, which is the kind of tennis forehand, isn't it? The outside muscles getting involved. So which way is that going? I think you can probably imagine once we get that involved, we've got a whole lot of left. We've got the face kind of climbing over and lots of hooks going on. So you can do outside rotation with the shoulder. You can do it with too much transverse rotation. So you can see how those concepts connect as well. So with this kind of color split ball, that would be rotating my arms like so back to impact, right arm still bent, as opposed to getting this kind of climbing over motion you see here. Which again, if you're connected to any kind of idea of the swing being a rotation like this, then we are going to get this kind of motion. So more than that, the swing is about driving the energy past us across our front line here, and the left side is going to move out of the way as the right side kind of pushes and drives in that direction. And if you've been following that, the amazing progress of Scotty Scheffler, that is absolutely his pattern. He is driving all the force in that direction, and any rotation he gets is a response to the right side pushing the left side out the way. We do not want in the golf swing the body being driven by a rotation in this manner. You can see the connection I've got between chest and arms there. That is not a healthy relationship in the golf swing. We want arms down and sent that way, and the body responding like so. Thank you for watching. If you want to understand more about these three patterns, then I've done a video dedicated to each of these in my Pete Cowen playlist, which is linked down below. And this is what we do every week. We try and uncover some of the deeper patterns of the golf swing to help you improve faster. So please consider subscribing. But before I see you next time, keep practicing and good luck. Play well.